Welcome back to Moose on the Loose, your source of uncorrupt media. My name's David. Today we have another ridiculous story coming from the Liberals. Justin Trudeau making more bonehead decisions. They are starting to crack down and regulate bagel shops and pizzerias. That's not a joke. This is what we're talking about today. They looked into the pollution created by bagel shops and pizzerias because they're using wood-fired ovens, and they're saying, maybe we can tax that. They conducted some surveys and stuff and basically came out 3% of Montreal pollution comes from wood-fired ovens in these places. And they're saying that their pollution levels from burning wood doesn't match their eco-green standards. The compliance promotion activities with some restaurants using wood-fired ovens to determine if they meet emissions, reporting thresholds, blah, blah, blah. This is ridiculous. Like, really? You're going to go after pizzerias and bagel shops? I'm going to go off. I can't control this. Okay, you want to talk about problems? So Trudeau has no problem with his overreach going across Canada and affecting pizzerias. These are small businesses. Why attack these? In BC here, look at this. We've got big business. Do you think this causes a problem for the environment, Justin Trudeau? Catastrophic clear cuts in British Columbia. And not only that, I don't have a problem with logging. If they faded these logs out and made them look aesthetic and they worked with the environment, because when bears and stuff are chasing animals, those animals have to go from tree to tree to have a chance to survive. If you have these big clear cuts, the bears just wait. When they pop out, boom, they're dead every time. It affects the balance of nature. You can't have like a fox running across and it has no chance. Not only that, you cut down all these big trees, and bald eagles need to nest in the big trees. That's how they grow. That's how they learn to hunt. Without big trees, they can't do that. But not only that, I don't have a problem with the logging. If we actually faded these and didn't have these huge cuts which dehydrate the environment, this doesn't hold any water whatsoever. And then what ends up happening, when you get a fire, like happened on Vancouver Island here, like just 20 kilometers from where I live, the fire just starts burning like crazy. And what did it burn? It burned a clear cut. It didn't burn through the forest. When it hit the forest, it stopped because there's a lot of moisture in there.
Wildfire burning out of control near Cameron Lake is creating a divide on Vancouver Island. The fire is burning just meters from Highway 4, cutting off dozens of communities.
5 helicopters are now part of the resources attacking the wildfire over Cameron Lake. This forest, however, continues to burn out of control.
And what they do, they cut down these trees. There's like 1 or 2, 5 guys, whatever, at the top of this company that own the logging company. And then they send all these raw trees off to Japan and China to mill those trees. They don't create any jobs here. We don't get cheap lumber over here. Lumber is very expensive, despite I live in a town where this is what it looks like all around town. This is not good for the environment. And where's Justin Trudeau? I know people say, oh, that's provincial. Well, if his overreach is going to go affect pizzerias and bagel shops, then his overreach can come in here and say, hey, you can't clear cut this because it's devastating our environment. The man does not care about the environment. He does not. Otherwise, this wouldn't be happening. Like, look at this. How is this sustainable? It's like, why would we destroy all of our forests so like 5 guys can get rich? We have all this hideous logging cuts that look terrible for tourism that doesn't provide any economic benefit to the whole community. We have all these wood mills shut down. This should not be cut down. I tell you, I bushwhacked through so many logging. I'm sorry, I'm going on a real rant, but this has to happen. I go through so many bushwhacking through these logging cuts. They are horrible. These are leg breakers. There's nothing in there. The whole area is dead. It takes year after year after year. The ferns finally have to grow in, start holding the moisture, and then if they replant trees, they finally start coming up. And 10 years later, you have this pathetic excuse of a forest. So you're telling me that this isn't a problem, but the pizzerias are a problem? Really? There's a simple way to fix this. 1, you fade all of these. 2, you get an architect in there that designs logging cuts so they match. You look at the snowpack and like, where would avalanches happen? Where do they happen? And where where do you want the snowfall to go down to when it melts? Then you cut these logging cuts that actually look like avalanche chutes to where you want to direct water to the proper rivers. And you fade them. You don't put these ugly cuts. 2 million people per year drive through here out to Tofino. I'm assuming this goes out to Tofino. It looks like it. 2 million people per year see these hideous logging cuts. It's horrible for tourism. I've talked to so many people when I went on my road trip down to America, and they say, wow, Vancouver Island, it was so beautiful, except it's so ugly, those logging cuts. That's what they think of. They think of ugly, this beautiful, world-class, one-of-a-kind landscape with ugly logging cuts. You look up Mount Aerosmith, the jewel of the middle of Vancouver Island there, when people drive past, and it's just absolutely butchered all the way across. How is that sustainable? Why isn't Trudeau coming in and saying, hey, I'm putting in regulations because climate change matters? There's none of that. Where's Trudeau? He's nowhere to be found. But the pizzerias, you guys can't be burning your wood anymore. No, no, no. That's the problem. It's not these huge cuts. This is totally sustainable. But those pizzerias, no, those are not sustainable. Screw you, Trudeau. I'm sick and tired of small businesses being ripped and taken down and regulated, and they're most likely they'll get some wood burning tax. BC, I think, is the first place to have its own carbon tax. We had a carbon tax before Trudeau put it in everywhere else. I'm paying a carbon tax, yet this is going on everywhere? And then there's all sorts of laws that I can't fly my drone over a beautiful forest that's technically a park, that like a provincial park. Really? But it's okay to go butcher the forests. Our government is run by complete idiots. Like the biggest boneheads. They're all greedy schmucks. How is this sustainable? Somebody tell me. This forest is going to be dead for decades. Decades. There will be no mushrooms in this forest for decades. And everyone knows if you go into old growth forest, there's a different feeling in there because there is so much mycelium. There's so many fungus, mushrooms, bug life. It is a different world and it feels alive. You go into a place like this, even after it's, regrowth, it just doesn't feel alive like an old growth forest. I just want to throw in here real quick too, it's not the loggers that are a problem. Loggers do a very difficult job and we need logs. Like I said, it's all those other things we should be benefiting as a society and not sending all of those jobs over there. It's actually to a point where the mills are being shut down here and being dismantled and shipped to China. Like it's this bonkers that we would give away that technology and not have our people prosper. And all we're left with are the few loggers who actually still work here, logging the trees, and all the other jobs, everyone who works at all those mills, turning those into boards of lumber and everything else that we could use in society has all been outsourced now and pushed over to China, where they further benefit from that. It's just, Canada never seems to come first. All right, I'm going to take a breath here. Now we've got a clip here of Pierre Poilievre, who also thinks the restrictions on emissions on wood-fired pizza ovens is ridiculous. Check it out.
Before I get started, I want to talk about the terrible existential crisis to the entire universe, which of course is pizza ovens. I know that Prime Minister Trudeau and his federal agency have launched an outright crusade against pizza ovens. They started in Montreal, but we know that they will get out here to Vancouver. So Vancouverites who are locked in their homes and terrified of pizza ovens should be at ease that Justin Trudeau will come to your rescue. Don't worry about your 100% rent increase or the fact that you can't feed yourself. Justin Trudeau is spending your money going after pizza ovens here and everywhere, and he will not stop until this crisis is resolved. But he's in a retreat today.
What a legend, man. Pierre Poilievre. Just oh, God. Yeah, so he goes on here talking about the retreat and just, basically wasting our money on his vacation, et cetera, But I'm glad he pointed this out and just made a complete joke out of the whole situation, because that's what this is. This is a joke, and clearly Trudeau doesn't care at all about the climate. Otherwise, there would have been some mention of the deforestation that's going out here in British Columbia, yet we've been the first of all of Canada, I think, unless maybe Quebec was before us, to pay the carbon tax, yet that's okay. It's okay to clear cut, have the CEO make a ton of money. We get no jobs. We get no cheap lumber. All our logs go to China or Japan. Bad for tourism. Bad for our country. Bad for all the citizens. Good for 3 or 4 people. It's not cool, man. What else would you expect, though, from the bonehead Trudeau government? That's where we're going to leave it here. Hopefully a little bit on a lighter note with that funny clip from Pierre Poilievre. Be sure to subscribe. Thumbs up. Stay warm, stay fed. I'll see you guys in the next one.